When you're excited, that is obviously an elemental force of fire, but it's very chaotic. It's very sporadic. It's like a sparkler. You're throwing little sparks everywhere, right? Fire responds to commitment. When you are caring for the forge or for the fire, right? You're doing it with great care. Steady burn. Consistent right action. Acts of discipline. Consistency. This is what the disciplined flame is. And of course, Brandon Spencer touched on this, right? Carrying the lantern, passing the torch. The lantern of wisdom. This is an occult message that has been in many of the mystery traditions, right? The lantern of wisdom, passing the torch, right? This is about the education of the occult arts and sciences to the next generation. Obviously, we want this to be de-occulted. We want it to be common sense knowledge that everyone knows this. But educating the youth is absolutely vital. A lantern does not lose its flame by lighting another. Wisdom survives only when carried forward, right? So you have to care for the lantern itself. A generation that fails to transmit wisdom, the lantern, does not break the chains of oppression. It simply hands it forward. Stewardship across the generations. If we do not teach true freedom and natural law, the next generation will inherit confusion. Passing the torch is stewardship. Freedom is preserved through the transmission of the element of fire, of right action. So, getting down to the spirit of fire. What does it mean? I mean, we can talk about it in all of these categories, the alchemical, the physical, health itself, right? When you have heartburn, there are certain plants and herbs that naturally are cooling, that are naturally a water element. Where do the fire element herbs, plants grow? The desert, the peppers. They're naturally spicy and hot. This is the expression of the fire element. We can see it in every aspect of life, health, psychological, spiritual, metaphysical, right? And even societal, in our behavior, in that eternal forge of doing the right thing. And we are harnessing that willpower by those small acts daily. Someone asked me, Will, how do I develop will? Will, you do that through forcing yourself to act in those small capacities, right? Say you will do something, then do it. You're going to do the cold plunge, do that every day. You're doing your push-ups, do that every day. You're going to eat a certain way or do a certain morning ritual, stick to it and do that. By you committing to those small acts, you're building integrity, and integrity is the kindling of that internal forge and flame of right action within oneself. So the spirit of fire has never been good or evil. It simply just is, right? It simply reveals what we do with the knowledge, the power itself. It warms or it consumes. It builds or it destroys. The difference is not in the flame, it is in the one who wields it. Right? The sword of truth can absolutely be used for self-defense. It can be used for violation and transgression. Right? That sword, that symbol of fire itself. The spirit of fire is the principle of transformation made conscious. It is the force of will that initiates change, illuminates truth, and enforces consequence. Fire is the active power within nature and within the human being that refuses stagnation and demands growth through heat, pressure, refinement. Just like the forge. It is neither chaotic nor cruel. Fire is honest. The spirit of fire is disciplined energy aligned with purpose. The inner flame that forges sovereignty, burns illusions, and turns potential into reality. This is what this conference is about. Ignition. You, listening to my voice right now, those that have attended and viewed all of the fantastic presenters and artists within this conference, doing it, they are gifting sparks to light your lantern, to spark your crucible, to light your forge of moral right action. What say you? This is what it's about. Ignite hearts and minds. Just as mental, those thoughts, that mentation is active fire. And care, true care, compassion, courage is the element of fire. Everything that we talk about, the element of fire, is to do the right thing, is for true freedom. This is understanding what the spirit of the element of fire is all about. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you ignite within your own right? Kindle that inner forge with care, with precision, and with discipline. And we hope to see you at the next funnel. Thank you all for your kind attention. All right.
Great job, Will.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate
I'm fired up. I know that. And it's, late in the day and I should be tired, but you just lit the fire under my ass, literally.
Hey,
ready to go another round. Bing, bing.
That's right. That's what I was trying to do. I mean,
Great work,
burn
man.
out, right? So yeah, you got to light your ass. You got to light that fire. Excellent. Yeah, thank you all. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think you brought together all of the aspects of fire in such an understandable way, and it brought it home for me. It integrated those concepts more deeply. So I do appreciate that. Yes.
Yep, excellent. That's kind of that's been my kind of thing that I've done the last few funnels, is tie it on. And in case people kind of want to know what I mean by that, is I'm building that presentation over as I'm doing the conference. So there are I have a general outline that I started with, but literally the past today and yesterday, I'm building that presentation, being inspired by watching and listening to the presenters.
That's fantastic. That's amazing.
Yeah, phenomenal work, Will. Spectacular. And the way you just tied it all in and just brought it as like the anchor of it all, and being, the anchor of this whole live stream, this whole weekend. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's a great way to flex all
Thanks,
the skills and put them all together and wow. On
Appreciate
display.
that.
Fuck yeah.
Can someone remind me, did we play the last Logan Makes Noise?
With Mark Passio?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay,
I think, we did.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So that means we are roundtable time.
All right.
Let me get something situated. We'll bring in all the guests. And again, if you have a question for any of the speakers, put question in all caps and we'll get those starred up and brought forward.
All right. Do all our people know we're starting? There's
Yep,
Jerry.
we're gonna bring them all in.
Awesome.
I gotta switch it up.
We even have the pleasure of having Douglas Martin in the house as well.
Wow.
I would say we got a very special guest tonight. Honored FUNL guest.
Scholar.
Pretty awesome. Douglas Martin.
Yeah.
It's like Nate's here. Corey, what's up? Jerry, good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. Some of the best people in the world here, all in one place.
How many spots do we have total, like, to fill?
Well, you're muted.
Sorry, yeah, we can do 12.
12. Okay, so
yeah, we have we space.
Have room for more.
Yeah, you can always scoot next to Chris right here, you know.
Yeah, we're not really worlds away like it looks. Arm's distance here. Even though it looks like you're in the Shire, it's actually my dirty garage. That's why I'm wearing my jacket. It's chilly.
That's so funny.
Do we have Soul?
Derek's teleporting.
Oh, he's asking how we get on. So can someone send Soul Expression?
Yeah, I got him.
A link? Okay.
I see Cynthia Mitchell is trying to come in. There she is.
Hey.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Where did Corey go?
Hey, I know you've been kind of busy, Will, doing your live presentation and all, but if it works out, Douglas sent over a track of his music and to our email. So maybe
Excellent.
On the way out, if you can manage it, but it might be too much to ask. But I didn't get a chance to hit you in the chat, so
I got the email right here. Let's do it.
Hit you up. Yeah, right on.
Very good.
We have Douglas. Oh, there he is. Hello.
I think he's trying to get the audio worked out there.
Okay, so yeah, Chris, if you want to kind of start it off, I'll look for some questions, see if we got any in the chat, or
right
Leslie,
on,
or Derek.
Well, I guess jumping off from Will's presentation, the fire, the ignite, like it's all about takeaways. What do we take away, and then what do people take away from what we've seen here? So why don't we just start with talking about any takeaways from today's presentations? Anybody got something fresh on your mind? I got Cynthia from yesterday. Why don't we start off with you since you weren't able to be here yesterday?
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, from even just the last presentation, wow, I'm just like, it's just been like overload of so much good information. But I really resonate with the animism thing, because I feel like so often we get caught up in, if something doesn't appear to us, like us, if it doesn't communicate like us, if it doesn't act like us, or express emotion like us, it's not conscious, it's not sentient, it's not whatever. That's our assumption, but that's a hierarchy assumption to me, and so that really resonates with me, animism, because if we're all from the same source, everything is conscious. You know what I mean? At some level, it's just different levels of it. So that really resonated so much with me, Will. Like, your presentation was fire. So yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and just real quick, you bring up a very good point. I mean, this is why we see all these correlations throughout time, throughout all cultures, right? There's these similarities and these correspondences, and they're just expressed in like different ways, right? So it's like if I'm growing a garden here on the West Coast and someone has a garden on the East Coast, it's going to look slightly different. Principles might be the same though.
Right.
So
right, and like, because I'm a big gardener, and you probably know from my presentation, and I talk to my plants, I play music for my plants, I do all the things for them, and like, once I started really studying them, they know when you come home, just like your dog knows when you come home. They react to when you are present and when you are not. So they're extremely conscious, extremely sentient. They just can't express it with a smile or with jumping on your leg, but that doesn't mean, it's not conscious or sentient.
How are you sensing that? What signs do you see?
Oh, they've done scientific studies on this.
Okay.
They
yeah
the plants and like studied the energetic reaction. And they also, when you harvest them, they react to that because they sense danger. So if you don't have a good relationship with your plants, they actually suck up all their nutrients back into their roots when you try to harvest, like as much as they can, because they sense you as danger. So I don't even harvest unless I go to the plant first and say, thank you for, offering me this and da da da, because I want the most nutrients, and I do appreciate their sacrifice. They're sacrificing themselves for you to eat. It's weird to me that people only think animals, they're sacrificing as well. Just because they're a plant, they're still sacrificing themselves when you eat from them. So I ask permission, I thank them, and then I harvest. Because all of these things are scientifically studied and proven. They will absorb, and some plants like create a lot of them, most of them create toxins as well when you try to harvest. So you get a lot of toxins if you don't harvest the right way, because they're trying to protect themselves. They're extremely intelligent, extremely intelligent.
Yeah, it seems like all life on this planet understands the interconnectedness of life on this planet, and humans are trying to catch up to that. It's like, hello, guys, come on. We need you to get it together. I mean, mycelium are kind of way further ahead on the schedule on that than the majority of humans nowadays.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, we do have some questions coming in, but maybe real quick we could do like a super fast, just how you feeling? What'd you think about the conference? And just go around so everyone can kind of check in real quick.
You want to go next, Corey?
Alrighty. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on and for letting me do my presentation and for just witnessing the amazing passion. You wanted to know our thoughts in regards to seminars. And one thing that came to mind is I just love seeing people express their passion and their care for humanity, regardless of, how much money they're making from it or how many views like just the fact that people are putting their passions out there, it makes me want to be a part of this community. Like that alone is such a beautiful thing. And that's why I love, connecting with you guys. And so I'm always going to, be around this community, and anybody who wants to reach out. There's a lot of really amazing projects happening. It's really strange actually to see Jerry on my screen and Cynthia, because I talk to you guys like outside of streams and I never collaborate with you guys online, which is funny. Like Jerry, I see you like almost in person like all the time for stuff I'm doing. And if I elevate my foot sometimes, that's because I have a 2nd-degree burn, so I have to work on that. But yeah, awesome. Speaking of fire, good job, Will. You spoke to my injury there, but no,
there you go.
The passion
Aloe,
is very
right?
important. Yeah, well, I didn't have it at the time. Now I can't treat it because it's a little after. It's pretty crazy.
Gotcha.
But yes, there's always natural cures, remedies, and we always have to listen to our body, give ourselves downtime when we're pushing ourselves and when we're doing these projects. And so for everybody out there, you're not alone. What you're suffering through, what you're going through, we're here to support you. And the fact that it is like a more like tight community where people care about each other and all that is a beautiful thing. I mean, if we had like hundreds of thousands of Spurgs, that's not necessarily a good thing. You know what I mean? Like we can give more care and attention to each other. So I love this community. And it will get to the point where we do reach the masses, because I've seen just in the past couple of years how this movement has moved, with fire, basically, to large places, institutions, and the things that we're doing. It's much more in person. It's much more collaborative. I think like Cynthia, like I met you maybe last year, 2 years ago, Jerry as well, right? And so there's a lot of people who I consider to be like new in the natural law community that I've seen, and think we're all just finding each other. And the more and more this grows, it's like slowly but surely you win the race. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, and you're going to have all sorts of different sparks and flares of fires going on everywhere. Will, you're going to be like, it's going to be uncontrollable after a while. They're going to be like, who's Corey? Who's Will? It's like there's going to be a billion other people sharing that message, and and that's a good thing. You know.
Well said. Yeah, man.
I think we need to hold that vision too. I think we need to see it happening, use our power of visualization to bring forward these details of that positive outcome. I do believe that's a big part of success. Yeah, thank you, Corey, because you have that optimism and that beautiful vision.
Yeah.
Jerry,
right.
you want to go next?
Cynthia, you're muted.
Cynthia, yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, I just want to give a shout out to Corey because he inspires me so much because he does so much in-person stuff. And that's like my goal is to like get out there and be more in person. And I'm also excited because next month I'm going to Florida and I can finally meet Jerry and Corey in person. And it's like, that's a big deal for me. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I'm so inspired by this conference. Last year inspired me, ignited me to start SoundPath and to just come full circle like this. And I really hope that this type of work that we're doing collectively continues to reverberate outward and spread that inferno of, just the old dying and the new arising. So just very, just honored to be here amongst you all.
Hey, Jerry, since you were just talking real quick, we got a question for you. It says, what was it like composing a presentation for a subject you were experiencing in real time? And when did you decide you were going to speak on that topic? Respect to you.
Oh, thank you, Chris. So I'm always trying to think of ways of applying natural law to my life and the trivium process and thinking of, how I can share my personal experience because, a lot of people go through these sort of everyday trials and tribulations and, one can make the excuse, oh, well, I'm, going through a divorce or I'm going through this. I have kids. I can't do the one great work. And it's like, that's an excuse. We can all do it. And and it's about, and I love how, Leslie Powers, you had your internal family systems mentioned. And so we were kind of vibing on that path. And I love how Corey and Derek had, the whole, Lord of the Rings type, so it's just amazing how, even we're almost like creating this like collective sort of mindset and approach to things and thinking about how we can apply the sort of personal into the more societal.
For the Shire, yo.
That's right.
All right, we'll just get into it. So whoever wants to jump in.
Hoping we can hear from Soul Expression next.
Yo, what up, y'all? What's going on? I don't know if y'all saw, but I was headed home when this part started. That does not mean I missed any of Will's session. Will, you went super hard. I so appreciate every single one of y'all, every single presenter, as well as everybody that's putting this on and has been putting this on. And I appreciate the shared oneness that brought us together on a spiritual level for such an event. And it's really great to meet those of you who I have not officially met. And it's really great to be here with Big Sis Cynthia Mitchell and Bro Derek B, who, connected me with this world. Not the knowledge, but this world, y'all, the people. I was activated, a couple years before I started making content. Then I started making content. Then I was at the tail end of making content, and I saw Cynthia's content and hit her up, and it was like, yo, do you happen to be a fan of some rando on the internet named Mark Passio, who nobody I know knows about? And she was like, yes, blah blah blah. And I was like, yo, look, we need to link, we need to connect. And then I meet Derek, and then it just, and now I'm on the One Great Work Network. Anyway, if I'm being long-winded, I apologize. I'm just very excited and very happy to be here with you all. I want to meet and shake hands with all of you and give hugs. Thank you for showing my dad so much love as well. I just want to say this as an aside. It's definitely big hurt right now for me. But I feel good right now because y'all, we did our thing, man. We did our fucking thing as far as bringing traction and momentum to our goal, our shared objective of spreading truth.
Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that, man. I'm glad you're here and the contribution that you gave to the conference. And even though I didn't get a chance to play one of your tracks, but we still have it. We can still play a couple. We got Douglas Martin in the house that we're going to play one of his musical tracks as well. How you doing, Douglas?
Your voice isn't coming through. We're supposed to be hearing the drum roll right now.
No, you're muted still. Or something. All these audio little details.
I like what you were talking about, Soul, with, reaching out to Cynthia about if she knew who Mark Passio was. Mark Passio's like, he is that beacon, because same thing happened to me when I first discovered Mark. I went to my only one, hardcore truther friend that was on the journey. I said, hey, have you heard of Mark Passio? He was like, oh man, your whole life's about to change. And I'm like, what? And that's kind of how it started. It's like, so he is this huge beacon, or this torch. And what we're all doing right now is bringing our torches together. And this is in the form of the bonfire that we call the FUNL conference, right? It would be great to take it from the digital space into the real world. But that's, it's a good kind of allegory. I like that.
Passing the torch.
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you just a little bit. Thought I heard him for a second.
Yeah, you're coming in, but it's very low, Doug.
How about that?
Better.
A little bit louder.
How's that?
It's getting better.
Yeah.
And Nate, I think
Hello?
you're far too.
Is that better? Is that adequate?
I think
now
that's
we're
gonna
talking.
work.
Now we're talking.
Okay, my phantom power went off. I'm using a condenser mic. It's really great to see everybody here. It's really great, and I really appreciate the invite to come in here. And I haven't met everybody here. So very sorry about your loss, and it's really great to meet you. And I just wanted to say that everybody has demonstrated superb performances, and I really love the mutual theme of natural law. That makes it very exciting and very important to me. So I really appreciate you having me in here. And right at this point, I'm more interested in hearing everybody else that really actually presented, and just really going to try to enjoy the round table and, jump in there now and then. But yeah, have at it.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate you really much, man. You're a legend, and the work that you've contributed not only to the FUNL conference but to the One Great Work is fantastic. So I'm speaking to mainly the viewers out there that might not be familiar with your work. Go check out the Cubby Hole, the podcast, all those episodes you guys did, and even the past funnels that you've gave presentations to. So appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you, Will. Your talk was amazing, and it takes a lot of guts to do that live, so much respect.
Cool. Thanks, brother.
And you saw a little star in the background there, Indica Martin.
Yeah,
Give
that
to
was
nature,
Indica.
and nature will give back to you.
Yeah, we can stay in the cubby hole and pass it to Nate. Whose presentation was great. Yeah.
Thank you. I definitely second everything that Doug just said. Sorry, I'm a little late. Tech issues. I have had tech gremlins attacking me for the past 2 years, and it's been not so fun. And if people only knew, I mean, I know you guys know, but how much you can go through to make one of these presentations, and you know how much tech problems you can go through, and some stuff you can control. uh, Most of it you can, but um, a lot of it just is very frustrating. And but here I am, and here we are, and I'm really stoked to be here and be part of this. And just an incredible conference. Just it felt like it just kept getting better and better and better. And these conferences definitely keep getting better and better. And uh, just really really pleased with a lot of the messages that I've seen. And again, to Soul, you know, may your father rest in peace. That's horrible. And but as everyone has said, you know, we all know he's here with us and watching us. And I'm very thankful that my my fathers are still with me. And I'm very blessed for that. And just really really stoked to be here. So I'll go ahead and pass it off.
Thank you, Nate. And you blew me away, good brother. Just wanted to say you fucked my head up, cuz
That part.
in a good way. Man.
Glad to hear that. Yeah, I was really hoping I would inspire people today with some fire. So you guys definitely inspired me with a lot of fire. It was definitely a hot conference for sure.
I just wanted to say one quick thing, just to Soul, my little brother. As we were speaking of people, doing this work like Jerry in the midst of so much, the fact that he's here right now is like, that's a big deal. Like, he's going through so much and he's still here. That level of commitment to this work, to this great work, is like, I just feel like it deserves acknowledgement.
We got Cat Waters in the house. Welcome.
Hey, Kat.
Hi, how's everybody
Yeah.
doing?
Good. Yeah. I hear myself echoing.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation, Kat. That was awesome.
I don't know what to say really. I mean, you don't get to say this stuff for decades and decades, and it's really, really unfortunate what's happening. Oh, someone is asking for headphones. I would have to go upstairs and get them.
Go ahead and finish what you're saying.
Like, I just have to be honest. It's like, it's hard to not really just be upset about everything that's happening. It's like, I'm just doing this stuff for so long, and just watching everything decline, and watching how it really wasn't that complicated. To just, you should be just standing up for yourself, fighting back, teaching your kids to stand up for themselves. And I mean, all through the decades, like, I just tried and tried and tried. I fought back, and I'm like literally surrounded by enemies disguised as family and community and relatives, and all doing the bidding of these Satanists. And it's like, for the Epstein files and things that are being revealed, and for things to have to be this sick and evil, to be exposed, for people to start waking up and taking notice, when the signs and symptoms of all of this stuff has been around longer than I've been alive. And people just, they acclimate themselves to it, they just always normalized it rather than, you know, acknowledging it and trying to counter it just like a long time ago. And it's just very, very, uh, you know, it's hard to wrap my head around. You know, I mean, I use the term fitness a lot because I've, you know, forgive me, seriously, I'm sorry. Um, I'm trying to put like get people to put heavier weight on their like mental barbell so long ago because they just didn't want to deal with and step up to the plate no matter how many times the opportunities presented themselves for people, you know, to step up to the challenge and step up to the challenge and step up to the challenge, and all people ever did was minimize, deny, water down, go in the opposite direction of health and fitness, you know. So it was fitness that just guided me. Um, and you know, again, look at how weak society is. Look at how weak the people are. Um, you know, I mean, it's so dysfunctional. Like I can't even believe. I'm you know, I'm sorry. Like I can't even believe that this is happening. That the public just, you know, has allowed such evil elite to take over and you know and steal like their lives over the decades and just give their power away, this giant, you know, abusive family system that I call it, when I mean, I don't know, it was kind of a no-brainer to study abusive relationships and to see, well, you know, so clearly like what was happening. And it should be so intuitive to like fight back, and I just don't know, you know.
It's a heavy grief. You know, I feel that you are like that mother that is holding that heavy weight on the earth plane that Nate referenced symbolically, and that you came to my mind, you know, after hearing you talk, and your the sensitivity, you know, of what you've seen, and the sadness, really the grieving of it not being heard, and transformation not happening as it could have or should have. Yeah, it's a lot you carry, and you know, with a lot of courage. Yeah. We've got a question up here. How do you handle religion and culture in an anarchist family, like dealing with the desire to pass down traditions but not force them onto your partner and children? It's an interesting question. Who wants to start with that?
Can I take a stab at that? Okay.
Yeah.
So, first thing I will say with a question like this is it's a great question because the question itself holds a couple flags in it, right? One of the flags is the words religion and culture. How do you handle religion and culture in an anarchist family? And when we focus on what is religion, what is culture, and what do you mean by like anarchist family, or this put a label here and then say my family is this, right? We can automatically take such a question and go, okay, let's dissolve some of these words that have baggage and say, what does this mean for me? And usually, if we look at, well, how do we handle religion and culture in this label family? What it dissolves into is how can I or we prepare ourselves to meet up with ideas that don't mesh with our moral, you know, code in our family? How can we deal with anything in any label from any field of study or exploration, meet the parts of those fields that don't connect well with our ethics and what I'm trying to pass on to my kids and build with my partner. How do we meet those? And I would say if the emphasis is on the truth and the nuance and specificity is in what you like to explore and what you would hope that they also would want to explore, and then at a what you make minimal is the parts that, but this part I am going to force down all of our throats, this part here as a foundation that should be aligned with all of our values. This is what I'm going to say, like, hey, we're about this. Just minimize that part, and I think just focus on whatever the truth is and keep compartmentalized into, and these are my interests within the larger alive truth, this living truth. These are my points of focus that I like to bring my family into if they want to come with me and leave their autonomy intact. Then I think what happens with that, especially with a family full of love, is the way that it branches out. It all works out for the best, and the anarchist family, as well as the religion and the culture and the what's normalized in society and all of these things, social media, school, all of these things, they meet against that same background of, but when they come over here, they're met with the truth. And we try to embody that truth and keep the flame of truth alive in all of us. And also, I like to study voluntarism, and I like to study this kind of philosophy and ideology in my temporary stay here on this little blue planet. That's how I would approach that.
Yeah. I would refer to Stefana Johnson's presentation about basically heart-based leadership, or where you're not using coercion and force to lead, but the leadership is through a more patient and embodied presence and modeling of the spirit, and behavior that is important, and I think when it comes to kids, there's a certain point where it's going to be natural for them to experiment with different paths, and I think that it's a mistake to use force to try to make kids comply with a certain tradition or whatever. I think we need to honor their right to choose and their own independent ability to express themselves. I think it's very important. Yeah. Who else?
I agree. I agree with the points you guys are making. If we are being parents in the same way, if we want to be a supportive doctor, health coach, if we want to be a leader and not a dictator, a governor that rules over people, we have to listen. We have to care for the child's needs. We can learn a lot from children, actually. And I think it's very important that if we do model the better way, they would see it and they would want to be a part of it. It's that idea of the unschooling or the homeschooling curriculum that actually supports them from where they are at, and something that they want to do. It's fun, it's playful, very different from perhaps our standardized mainstream schooling. And speaking of that, I mean, community, nature, very important, of course, in that whole process. Because if this is something, truth, nature, we say is all present all around us, then really we're working with this parent, this teacher that is here, and we're just kind of guiding, saying here's the teacher, right? And I want to say also, Sol, I didn't know your situation either, so I'm sorry about that. But listen, my family is always open to you if you ever need anything like that. Jerry knows too. Like, my family's very open. And I'll be honest, through a lot of my real life action gathering with people, I probably know thousands of truthers in my area at this point locally, right, Jerry? Like, how many I meet, like every week I meet like at least 5, 10. They're messaging me every day because I have this network now, massive. And that's why I'm not doing much online content creation. I feel like I have an extended family. Like, I feel like I have a billion people I could reach out to anytime, say like, hey, I want to talk about truth or whatever. I don't really feel the need to be honest, because I have all these people I can go to, and they're all talking to me constantly. So I hope everybody gets that community. I want to encourage that in everybody here, because a lot of people feel like they're alone or they're outraged. And that was me when I was first starting my truth journey, but it doesn't have to be that way. And Catherine, same thing for you. You're always welcome to Florida, and I'll show you. Our church. Like someone asked in the chat, go to church. Like our church is nature. Our church is our gatherings at Bigfoot, food forest. Well, there's another name we have for it because I'm creating a nonprofit as well. And, there's Galt's Landing, 50 acres that inspired me to do what I'm doing. And then we're working together, and then we're creating all these models, and we're working with someone who's running for governor, and he's got a house on the beach in New Serma. And, he's new to truth, and he's just awakening, but we're there for him. We're supporting him despite the fact that he's running in politics. And like we're making all these connections because we're opening our heart to them. I'm going to the college campuses with Jerry pretty often. And then I'm also going to clubs, at other college campuses, and I'm talking to those students. And so then I go to Qigong centers, meditation centers, the places that inspire me to create what I'm creating. And then what happens is you just have this never ending growing network. And I've only been in Florida for not even 3 years. And like immediately the events were insanely big because I partnered with a local business that does like healing stuff or natural medicine stuff. But when you are surrounded by great people, you don't care about the news or what's going on online. Like I don't even follow that stuff. Like guys, this is the only stuff I'm consuming online is your content. Like I'm not even like watching the mainstream news. Like yeah, the Epstein stuff, I follow some of that here and there because it's like, okay, people are starting to catch on. Great. But like I'm inspired every day I live. I'm like, bro, we're developing more models. Like we just created a model that I'm going to share with you guys that's going to generate tens of millions of dollars in just a couple of years. And I'm going to detail it for you guys on my YouTube channel. And eventually you guys could all be a part of it. But there's always methods using the market, using community that don't have to deal with just money or being angry and creating content online. Because I'll be honest, we're going to be all replaced by AI, and the internet already is 80% botted and AI, and platforms aren't doing anything about it. So we have to move toward natural intelligence, nature, God, truth. And as AI grows, people are going to want more of that. People are going to be looking for community. There already is a loneliness epidemic despite having social media. Right. So people are looking for this. They're desiring it. Everybody is, even people who have no conception of truth. They don't know how to communicate it. They don't know anyone that could bring it out of them. They've been never given the time to be present and sit down and ask themselves, what are my values? What is my greater purpose beyond my work, beyond my school? And so the more we create environments that open people's minds, the more then we can give them information because they will be receptive to it. They'll be asking for it. Like I'll have conversations at the colleges, Jerry, like I know you'll be busy handing out flyers because you're awesome, but like the conversations I have with these students, some people are thinking I'm scripting them on my YouTube channel because the things they're saying to me is like, yeah, the system is all crazy and we got to eat healthier. Like they know, but no one ever asked them like their views on this. Some of them think they're not qualified because they're not an online influencer. So it's like we lack an organization, really. I mean, there's already millions of people in independent media. InfoWars was in $1 billion lawsuit. So if anything we can do here in a natural law community to create impact, I just would encourage people as much real life action as possible as we move into this age of AI, and then use the AI tools to encourage more of that connecting to nature, because it can automate a lot of things to make it easier to channel people that way. And Jerry, you and I talk about that too, is like leveraging these systems. Again, you kind of got to work with change, right? I mean, the systems of law, government, religion, the reason why they don't work is because they're not flexible. They're like, this is the way everything has to be. So AI, let's move with it. Let's flow with it. Let's not get stuck on it, just like anything else. Let's flow and let's remember our connection to nature, and then it will be a useful tool. So it's something I just want to throw out there and to tell everybody that you're all my family and you're all community. And when you have that, you won't look at the world negatively because that's all programming. It really is. I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of bad things in the world. There's a lot of people who are doing bad things. I see it. Yeah. And I talk to police officers, and those are some of my best videos where like I'm asking them, like, would you suppress their conscience? They say yes. And I'm like, really? You're going to tell me that you're going to do wrong? Like, you're going to tell me if I was, growing this plant that I shouldn't grow it, like I'll look at them straight in the eyes and they'll tell me with like a dead, like Jerry, just yesterday, right? We were at like Publix and the manager came out, like he had like soulless eyes. I can swear I've seen this multiple times in my life, but these are very few people, and it's always very few people, and the mass majority of people do see it. They just need to be organized. They need a place to go. We need more community centers, more people who will open their hearts. And so, Catherine, if you do fitness stuff, like, hey, come on down, we'll do fitness stuff together. That will heal people. People cry after those sessions. It's somatic healing, but like that right there is transformational. And I think anybody can do it from anywhere.
I just say something really quick about the kids thing, because it just so happens like tonight, like they're just finishing up now, but my youngest daughter is 21, and they had a meeting because they organize meetings and they do community events and outreach, and they're like totally like full on in the truth and freedom movement, like this young, like, and it's like, whoa, like it's amazes me, and I'm so proud of her. But I never put pressure on them to think like I think or believe like I let them explore whatever they wanted to explore. And I will always just say to them, question everything, even your own beliefs, because the truth can stand up to questioning. So whatever you believe in is true. If you question it, it'll still be true. And that's kind of the route my daughters went. And now they're both like totally into natural law and truth and freedom, because that's where nature guides you naturally when you question everything.
Could I add real quick, Cynthia, you deprogrammed your brother. Your brother is someone part of my local land project, and someone who, I mean, I don't want to publicly say like all the things he said to me. The way he introduced himself to me on email was just mind-blowing. I don't know if he wants that public, but like the fact that he was someone who was a veteran, right, or whatever, like tens of decades in the system, and you helped him get out of that, is something that everybody should like look up to you and say like, how did you do that? Because it's really powerful. Like even yesterday, Jerry, at the bonfire at Dennis's house, that the guy was sitting down like a psychologist, and the lady was getting really angry, and he was sitting there listening. And I was like, wow, your approach is amazing. Because it's like you understand the truth, and then you understand how to share it with people who are just starting to wake up and they're getting really frustrated. And it's like you're sympathetic to that emotion and you're helping them get out of that. And so it's such a beautiful thing to witness. So I just want to say, good job, Cynthia. Like, great job on that.
Yeah, and on that note, we don't have Dan with us tonight. Maybe it was a little late for him, but I love Dan Arnold's talk on that, and he's such a great example of getting out of being actually doing that job, for all those years and seeing it from the other side. And I really like the way he shared too, like that. Like, here's a picture of me, with my kids and stuff when I was a police officer. You know what I mean? He's like, a lot of these guys are, trying to just be guys taking care of their family and stuff. And so we need to care about them too, and realize that they're people that need love and care and instruction, so that they don't, make those choices that send them down that path of negative karmic, justice, like I talk about, that we all have to face in our own right, and so it's always an opportunity to try and reach out to people, to try to create content, and meeting someone like Dan, who's, totally come from one. And our great friend Jerry from One Great Work Warriors, who when I met him, he was actually wearing fatigues and walking around in the mess hall with all the other GI Joes, and now he's a One Great Work Warrior, and just doing great things behind the scenes. So thought I'd point that out. But whoever else wants to pop in next, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think that we should target the children with a whole lot of, maybe not our creations as far as what we put directly onto the internet, but our creations as like the, modern voluntarism, modern spiritual anarchism movements. Because if our ideas that are more aligned with truth than the ideas they may get elsewhere, in my humble opinion, are targeted toward children, and successfully. So, maybe eventually we have traction and we have successful children's material, then reintroducing them years later to, and this is why monetary value is just this made up thing that comes with, in its design, a freedom differential or potential for power differential in its design, in its the design of its purpose. It automatically has lies in it. It automatically has stories that don't align with nature and adhere to nature's actual rules in it. Introducing them to those more complex, more nuanced, more sophisticated trains of thought later in life, as we're still participating in the monetary systems that are held together with the glue of the religion of man's authority, in my outlook, they won't be confused and they won't be so what they say in the Matrix, so inert, so helplessly dependent on the system that they fight to protect it. So I think we should target the kid. That should be a goal of maybe a subsection of us, to get together and make a whole bunch of kids material that we think is good enough, if you will, and marketable, if you will.
Oh my gosh, you're speaking right to the announcement I have to give in a couple weeks. So just stay tuned. But I want everybody who's listening and part of this community, I'm going to need your help, because we're gathering as much material as possible for kids, curriculum stuff. And Jerry, you already been gathering stuff through your Liberation Academy. So you're literally hitting on the nail, and it's like teasing me, because it's like, I want to get it out there. But I'm like, got a lot of different systems to integrate. And by systems, I mean legal frameworks and then bank stuff and a bunch of things to make sure it's all perfect. But yeah, dude, that is so on point. It's crazy.
I was gonna just
Yeah, we got to come up with a lot more conscious material than Mother Goose and Dr. Seuss, So, yeah, get that golden goose of consciousness. Don't lay a fat old egg in nothing, right? Let's see. Should we go to another question? I saw
I
one
think
about
Kat was
anarchy
going to
and
say
dating and stuff.
something. I think Kat was saying something real quick.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go for it,
Yeah, let's
Kat.
hear what Kat's got to say,
Yeah.
and then we'll go to a question.
Yeah, by the way, I just want to say I really appreciate your presentation and like the catharsis. We need that. That's that. The fire, the calcination of hey, what the fuck's going on, y'all? You guys are supposed to be adults and parents, but just because you're a parent and gave birth to a child doesn't mean you know it all, and like nothing you do is wrong or whatever. So accountability. You kidding me?
Yeah, this is like decades and decades in the making. But what I was gonna just add, since Corey was talking about community, so it was 2001 when I was trying to join community in Rhinebeck, New York, at the Omega Institute for Holistic Studies, from 2001 to 3, and then the beginning of 2004. And then the winter of 2002 into 3 was at a place called the Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. I just kind of, I sort of come at things from maybe like a different perspective, but, I just want to kind of, I've been trying to sort of build, community and, healthy families for decades. It's really been an emergency for quite a while now, and I tell you, I really think if people don't start really coming together and organizing, it's it's not going to be good. I don't want to be like, but I can't help it, like, from just what I've lived and experienced, and just measuring all these decades, like, how things have been playing out. And I can't help but like I have to bring like a heaviness, like a weightedness to it, because I just think it's serious what's going on.
For sure. Thank you, Kat.
You're
I agree
welcome.
with you.
I mean, it's, I don't, it's, I know, I mean, I just don't know what else to say except what I lived, and needing help for 5 decades and never getting it, and being shut up and criminalized and being surrounded by enemies. Again, I apologize that my voice shakes, but it's, I just never thought this stuff was going to be going on this long. And there's Palestine. I did actions for people in Palestine. I mean, I just, if I had the funds, like, I would do like more of that stuff. Like, I'm kind of better with being in the field, being on the battlefield, to a degree. I'll add that. I mean, I don't really want to go into harm's way stupidly, but I feel so kind of, used to sort of being on the battlefield that, like, I want to be on the battlefield. And I just, yeah, I don't have the funds.
So, I have been talking to Corey and some other folks in our natural law community about, and I would, have sort of floated the idea with some of funnel organizers here. There are ways that I think that we can come together to, because I'm seeing in general, right, like there is a funding issue in our community. We shouldn't be in situations where someone's getting kicked out of their apartment for growing plants, or whatever. Like, there are, if I'm tapping into a sponsorship pool for SoundPath, I want to share that sponsorship pool with everyone. I want Funnel, SoundPath, everyone to get funded. So we're 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 at a sort of strategizing level right now with this idea, but the long-term goal would be to create a sustainable sort of uh, that way people can focus on doing the one great work, because just getting into these, like, this is how they pick us off. They pick us off with these, at one by one, and they make it feel like, oh, this is my individual struggle that I'm dealing with. No, like, we can work together as a community so that they don't pick us off all the time, and we can stay strong as a collective. And I don't want to sound communistic or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, if we could just find ways, like if someone's in a better position to give, like, let's just network that opportunity for everybody. So that's sort of what I was thinking about. But
Yeah, Kat, reach out to me sometime and we can talk about this, because there'd be a lot of questions I want to ask, and I want to see how I can help. But anybody out there as well, if you feel alone and you need connections and methods, I'm willing to share that. So, but yeah, I know there's a lot of questions in the chat too, and I don't know if that's what everybody wants to talk about.
And I'm sorry, I'll keep this very short, but I just don't want you to feel like you have to apologize for bringing this up. Yeah, it's heavy, but it needs to be talked about, because it's not nearly enough.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's action.
This is ridiculous. Like, I'm like, right now, I'm currently in like major legal trouble for protecting my own granddaughter from my stepson. Like, I'm in major trouble. It's costing me thousands of dollars. I don't even know how it's going to turn out. And you know what? I do it again, because that's a baby and she needs protection. And who the fuck am I as a human grown adult, and I don't do anything, and I'm seeing this in front of my face? You know who cared? When I told the police, no one cared. They still haven't even looked in what he did to my granddaughter. They only arrested me. They never looked into the fact that he didn't feed her formula for a day and a half at 4 months. This is real. This is real life. My niece was murdered at 5 weeks old by her own fucking dad. Both my sisters molested by my half brother. This shit is real. So don't apologize. And I'm sorry for being upset, but this is real life. And this hurts people and affects people. It ruins lives. It destroys people. So don't apologize for bringing it up, because we need to deal with the heavy stuff. Everything ain't fucking light. Everything ain't fucking woo-woo.
Yeah. No, I mean, the real math, like I just try to talk about that all the time, the real cost, the real economy. I mean, I can't help it, because I've just, it's my body has been shaped by it, because the more people around me, since, I mean, this is literally going back to 1970, that, oh God, I'm just trying to take a breath and, not have my voice shake, but, so it like I get so grateful to the body, to the mind body, and it's amazing wisdom and intelligence, because if it wasn't for I'm sorry, oh, my body,
Don't apologize.
that was just like so smart in fighting and having the fit adverse responses to all these really ignorant, enemy people that I was surrounded by. I mean, I thank God I didn't drown in it. I mean, if it was worse abuse, because it was, even neighbors and everyone around just had this insane, the poor abuser, like this children don't count and authority can just do whatever it wants. And I used to say, literally in the 70s, you mean authority can just do whatever they want? Like, no matter how, illegitimate people are, like they just never get held accountable. And, so, I mean, my health really suffered. I used to be really creative in the 70s and the 80s, and all that stuff just got crippled, unfortunately. And it's just, I never expected it to go on this long, is what I mean, I'm getting older and my time is like running out, and it's just very, very sad. I don't know what else to say. I just didn't think it would be so complicated, like to fight back, like to be fit, and for so many people to kind of be in on this like re-education, this inversion of health and nature, and to be so like against fitness, to be like, I talk about fitness so much because people hated it. Like they hated, if they had reality and, just the laws of physics, like just giving them honest blowback, it's like this war with health, a war with the laws of nature that I watched people just do, like warring with God. And I was just like what the hell is going on? And I again, like, I just thank God that my health fought, that my body, that I had like this, I have fight in me, a lot of fight in me. I gotta say, I want to fight really hard. And I got shamed for doing it. And this confusion and making your health like a pathology, making your healthy psych and physical immune system like a pathology, has completely left so many people so disarmed. Like people have like no defenses. Like this is how the system has wanted people for decades, completely defenseless, mentally, physically, and spiritually, so they can abuse you, do whatever they want. And if you don't like it, there's something wrong with you. And it's gotten, people have been so groomed to really believe that, like, healthy fight, healthy, dissent, healthy resistance, healthy adverse responses or anger and all that stuff is, and it's just not.
It's just not true.
There's so much emotion that needs to be dealt with and expressed. That's one thing I've learned so much from Leslie. Understanding this trauma and being able to express it. There's other people out there that are feeling the similar feelings, and they were alone. And so maybe someone who's watching, maybe the things you're sharing, Kat, will help other people, because they're like, gosh, that's what I've been feeling too.
Mhm.
And I've been feeling alone. What were you going to say, Leslie?
Well, yeah, I think to follow up on what you're saying, it's that what you're expressing here is going to be very validating for other people who may not have felt seen, and you are really validating what they're experiencing and that importance of it and the grief of that. And this is hard work, right, for us to sustain. And we need to start thinking about how do we sustain ourselves emotionally. I love this idea of, where Corey's talking about how, inviting people to Florida. I would love to have some respite time as well. I think we can maybe start to create some of that for each other. Where we live right now, we have an extra trailer, where we have visions of, like people coming and being able to spend a little time, and not that this is, a beautiful permaculture garden or anything, but
We'll get there.
but we'll get there. That's the plan, right? Like, and even like inviting, ourselves to work together towards creating things in our various places. Like, I think we could start to think creatively of how do we offer support to our own network in real ways, like rest and recovery and a chance to be nurtured and not feel alone and overwhelmed. It's really about we have to do something different. We have to get out of our routine and comfort zone a bit with some new ideas.
Can I add a little bit my own 2 cents on that point? Also, in our studies, I think we should be very intentional as to how the narrative behind the facts that we believe, facts or non-facts that we think are facts that we believe, meaning how the story was woven around the beliefs that we are trying to double check and or dissolve because we found out new information. As those who are kind of in it, preaching to the choir, but also more so when we're having the conversations with those who are just now being interested or just now activating, and have not been in the game for years or decades for that matter. Shout out to Kat. There's just, I think, a way that we can approach this unlearning that deals with story that I'm working really, really hard on to try and come up with something that can turn into both a curriculum and an entertaining series of sorts that goes into it. And it's called The Inner Storyteller, which I introduced the concept of in depth in the introduction of my presentation here on Funnel 5. And basically, the inner storyteller is what makes meaning in our inner experience. And the way that I put it, just to be super short, is you have a pure awareness space for existence that doesn't need story, doesn't need body, memory, or anything. And you have the I am, the seed of consciousness. I'm sure Nate is circle and dot in the middle should be coming to mind. You got pure awareness as the circle, and you got the seed of consciousness that spiritualists, especially in the East, call the I am presence or whatever. And beyond that, you have different layers of the dynamic, interactive, relational life that we live. And I say the most powerful force in that, even more powerful than attention, is the inner storyteller. Because the inner storyteller even tells the story of your attention, jumping here and there or being absent. And this spiritual force, I believe, governs our inner experience. And if we understand not only the inner storyteller of our own life, but also the dynamics of the inner storyteller and how it contributes to our learned behaviors and how we can use it to do things with our neuroplasticity and change ourselves in great ways that contributes to our shared goals, then we'll be making real progress with dealing with the question, why don't people get it yet? Why don't these fucking people get it yet? I think it's because the stories that they are conditioned to tell themselves are woven with contaminated material. I'll shut up.
That was great. Yeah, man. I really like that. You know, there's for me, what I'm actively going through is the kind of, I mean, Corey touched on this on health, right? Health, the word, it means wholeness. So it's all encompassing. It's all of the categories of life itself, of beingness, of living in the world. And this even applies to what we're going through the human condition. Sure, we're truth speakers, we're making content, we're educating the public, but we also live in the world. So having that balance, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, meaning, 1 foot in the digital realm of education and creating content, but also in your local communities, out in the world, going to events, uniting these sparks or these torches, like we're doing now, but even in real life as well. It's all of that, right? And each person needs to kind of discover that balance and integrating that into their life in general. There's a lot of people that understand this information but feel separated, right? Those people need to get out into the events. They need to get out into, whatever the freedom cells or anything like that, and interact with people, with individuals. And I don't mean that in a codependency, like, oh, I'm with my tribe that just enforces certain belief systems, right? But it's being in the world. It's being proactive and engaging. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand. If we want, we do have some pretty good questions. I could put these on the screen and we can kind of do some rapid fire, and everyone can say something on the question. Here's a good one that I like that I think is extremely relevant. What is your perspective on owning guns and teaching children how to use them? Do you believe they are important for protecting and fighting for freedom?
Absolutely.
Hand in hand.
I'd love to hear from you, Nate.
Yeah. Well, I had I'll get to that question. It's a very, very important question. I did want to say something to Kat and Cynthia. I definitely hear you very deeply in what you're saying. And, this is why we're doing what we're doing. But we also have to remember that we're in a condition of apathy. And this means no care. People just do not care. So it's a condition. And so what we're doing in these conferences, we are reconditioning ourselves to care. And then we can cultivate care. And so something that I didn't get a chance to let Will know. Amazing presentation, Will. I loved your presentation. I didn't get to see all of it because I was trying to get myself situated here, but this is going to all connect. It made me think of something that I think one of the singers said yesterday, that I really loved is, when he talks about blowing the breath into the fire. And, that's exactly what I was trying to say in my whole presentation with the inspiration is, when you're blowing into the fire, you're blowing the breath to raise that fire up, to build the bigger fire. And what that means is speaking more. It means getting vocal. So when you're getting vocal, you are raising that fire. You're raising that inspire. And so, this is why, these things are not being talked about enough in this world. Is because people are, there's not enough people speaking to raise that little tiny fire that everybody has within them. It might seem like it's out, but if they get just enough breath, just enough of the that emotional vitriol and being, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Being scholarly, being clear and concise, like Will is talking about, finding clarity, bringing more clarity. It's a refinement process. And so, yeah, we have to, um, we have to remember that we're emotional beings, but we have to check ourselves and stay cool and make sure that we, um, bring these topics to the table. They can't go untalked about, but at the same time, getting to the root cause. This is always the most important part of what we're here to do. Because if we understand the causal factors of why these things are actually taking place, which most of us know this, but it's a refinement process because we're trying so hard to get to that root causal factor of, why these horrific things are happening to the children of this world. And not just children, it's adults too. And it's it's very sad because people are just not getting enough of that breath of speaking out. And so this brings me to the question, about children with guns. Yes, absolutely. Children must learn about not just firearms, just weaponry in general and how to use them. We've grown up, in a country that's not completely decalled or declawed yet, but we're getting there. We're getting very close, because people are very uneducated. They're in a state of apathy. They have no care, because it's been conditioned into them. And, after what just happened with the whole, pandemic, people are really doubling down in their ignorance and apathy. And so that's what makes it feel kind of hopeless. But here we are. And what we're doing is, the best that we can do. And, but we must keep speaking. We must keep being vocal. We must, be as clear and concise as possible. And, you know, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of diligence. It takes a lot of love and courage. And so, you know, we have to understand that children are our prosperity. They are our future, and we must take it more serious to make time and make the effort to teach them not only the difference between right and wrong, but how to defend themselves. Because, you know, we're being taught from a young age that self-defense should only be left up to the authorities. And that is a very big delusional way that people have been brought up to think for a very long time. So it's perpetually, conditioned into people. So this is part of the no care conditioning. And but ignorance is really the adversary of truth and moving in the direction of evolution. And evolution is teaching your children not only the difference between right and wrong, but how to defend themselves and how to properly, know how to arm themselves with a firearm or any type of weapon. So that's my, I could go on and on about that, but I'll pass it off.
I think it's important that if in general, but in terms of educating the young about the importance of self-defense, firearms, this kind of thing, is the understanding that rights aren't guarantees. It's part of the person's responsibility that comes along with being a sovereign being, that you have to take action. If you want freedom, you have to protect it for yourself, for your family, for your community, and so forth, and not tolerate injustice and tyranny. That's so vital. That's why education has to come along with the ability to defend oneself. You have to it's like in Braveheart, he says, first I teach you to use this, then I teach you to use the sword, because that's the exercise of intelligence, to be an intelligent, conscious being. It's so important. I just wanted to, throw that in there.
And if I could just say something really quick too, not even just children, also women, because a lot of times people think of defense as the man's job, and a lot of us ain't got no man, first of all, and you still need to be able to protect yourself, whether you have one or not. We need to know. We also need to know how to use guns and protect ourselves, and know martial arts in different ways, because, like, not only was my niece murdered, my sister was murdered too. He killed her too. And I think about that all the time. What if she would have had a gun? What if she knew how to use one? Maybe she'd still be alive right now because he had one, and it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and it needs to be taken very seriously. And we do need to know how to protect ourselves, and we can't let the government or the police make us think that we don't have a right to defend ourselves and protect ourselves, because we do. We absolutely do.
Can I just say, because what I've watched and experienced over, many decades to see how we arrived at where we have, is how, and again, it was the people that all kind of, do it to themselves. They did it to themselves. They made, the health, my health, my rightful, healthy self-defense, healthy self-worth, healthy spiritedness, all, a pathology and a crime, just so they can, extract that energy, from us, like little people, nobody, working class people, to transfer to the, elite. So, they can live completely excessive, like way beyond health, way beyond, like, like what any healthy person should be allowed. And they have so much excess, and they're constantly being fed, extracted from us to them, so they could be, as deviant, beyond health as you can be, while, people like me and us are living deficient. Like, we're not even allowed to live our, like, I mean, I didn't think it was like rocket science or so radical, like, to just want to be healthy, to just want to live to my healthy potential. And it was like, I mean, I literally was attacked by my own freaking, so-called family, people all around me that were literally like, how dare you? And it's, all of that, everything that I just experienced all through the decades accumulated to be creating, like all this Epstein stuff. And what makes me so, I'm sorry, angry, I just can't help it, is all of the finger pointing at Epstein and, oh, how sick these people are. Oh, they're so sick. They're so sick. And I'm like, yeah, you enabled them for 6 decades. You extracted from the little people all around you to feed these psychos for decades and freaking decades. And it makes me, and like, if people can't get, I was studying how relationships functioned, what healthy boundaries are, enabling and codependency and all this stuff, like, since the 80s, like the early 80s. And I thought we were well on our way to, like, I thought we would have been halfway to enlightenment by now. I was so sure, like, my life, the world would be like so much healthier and thriving by now, with all of the self-help and spirituality, yoga, meditation stuff they were selling you a bazillion freaking years ago. And I watched people, like, just not put things into practice. They go to the Omega Institute and pay all this money to go to these workshops, and then go back to their lives and do the same thing. They don't, like, there's no rubber meeting the road. And I got to tell you, like, I was like committed. I made life like this endless workout. And I said, like, I'm just going to tell the truth, never stop telling it, and let the chips fall where they may. If I was homeless, if I was poor, if I didn't care. This is how, like, much, like, fight was, and rage and frustration was literally pumped into me, living, in an environment that's supposed to be like freaking so supportive and caring. And it was like a test. Like, I did an experiment to just say, let me see what happens if I, because I said to myself in the 80s, if the monetary system was legitimate, I should be able to take care of my health, put my health and fitness first, and money should come to me, like, more naturally and effortlessly than, because in order to have money all the time, I always had to do shit I didn't want to do. Things that didn't feed my soul, things that didn't, feed me and help me to be who I wanted to be. And I was like, you know what? F this. I'm going to just be who I am. And if I'm poor, then so-called poor, then, that will expose this crappy, fraudulent monetary system for what it is. And of course, it turned on to go on like much longer than, I thought, guts and resistance would be rewarded. I thought I was going to get like all this support and an army of people like kind of joining me, and forget it. It was like nothing like that at all. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, there's,
Go ahead.
for a lot of people, not a lot of support out there. And, that's kind of why we've been pushing to work on community, to work on, us talking about these things on shared platforms. And I really appreciate what Jerry was saying about working towards better systems. And I know Corey too, trying to provide some sort of network so maybe more people don't fall through the cracks and have to go through some of the trauma we did. And, one thing that's been huge for me, I wanted to bring it back to that question about self-defense. Over the past few years, I've been really lucky to be studying self-defense with someone who's very knowledgeable and like picking up some amazing skills. And it makes me realize that, like, just practicing on the day-to-day, kind of war gaming in your mind. What if things went wrong? Like, what if somebody tried to grab your kid when you're walking down the street, or corner you or your loved one? Do you have any kind of plan? Because it could make the difference that you have any kind of plan and that you have done any kind of thinking. And so outside of just guns, there's a lot that can be thought about, studied, and a lot of preparations that can be made in terms of even just down to things you carry in your pocket or mental ideas and plans. This story really sticks out for me that I was told about a young female in the snow and bad weather, ran out of gas. And like if she would have just stayed in her car, or I don't remember what the deal was. Like she was afraid to break the window was what it came down to, and she wound up freezing in the snow. But if she would have just broke the window, she would have been able to get in the car and get the keys or whatever happened. I think that's what it was. She was locked out of the car. So she decided to walk home, in the cold and wound up freezing to death. And it was just like that simple self-defense thing of understanding you can break the damn window. Your life's way more important. Don't worry about the window. It's like those type of things. Like I'm talking about putting things into context and caring about children, caring about life in this day and age of AI and the changing times. It's like it's getting harder. And those of us that understand it and still feel and still care, we need to put that out there for other people to grab a hold of and share. The camaraderie of being alive and being human. So pass it on.
If I may add to this, what you guys are touching on is this body and mind relationship, right? Which we see is so important in health, right? And when you see martial arts, it's like you're expressing, you can say, some of that anger, some of that fire through movement. And that's why it's helping people release trauma, for instance, right? I mentioned the somatics before. Someone in the chat mentioned Tai Chi. Well, Qi Gong is considered like the grandfather of martial arts. And Leslie, we did an interview with my Qi Gong teacher for the Health Revealed project. And he talked about that relationship and how he's building community through the Florida community of mindfulness. And now they're fully solar. They've been donation based for the past 30 years. Speaking of which, this is also the two pillars in Mark Pastor's natural law seminar, the left brain or right brain, the masculine and feminine, the self-defense principle, but also the non-aggression principle. And then what comes of like every interaction is how you present yourself and how you react, right? So your presence is really important. And you can say the presence is kind of like where the two pillars or the two sides come together. In Taoism, they call that Wu Wei, between hot cognition and cold cognition. And so how you present yourself can be really important. I mean, even like Jerry, another example, yesterday, was it 2 days ago? I don't know. 2 days, it was yesterday, I guess. I don't know. But time goes by. I'm just like in the flow of things. That's a good example of Wu Wei. I'm not like too swayed by things. But we got like $30, and within 30 minutes from people just donating to us. I didn't even ask for donations, just when I was handing out flyers in front of Publix. And we were just standing there. And we were just inspiring people. And because I come with this presence of inspiration, and I learned this from Jim Gale, you can get done anything you want in your life. If you have this is going to sound new agey, but this sort of vibrational energy that people can sense. Jim Gale, whether you like him or don't, I mean, it's like people are attracted to him and they give him things because he has an energy, he has a quality, and he does have a speaking ability. And he did learn things like, like the politicians learn it to manipulate people, right? But like what do they call it? NLP, right? Neuro linguistic programming. But like, he took all these courses for years. He was like living the $1 billion life, like on a yacht, right? And then he started researching 8 hours a day, had this spiritual awakening, and decided to do something. But the thing that keeps him being successful is this energy that he brings with him, and he meditates. And that's why I hang out with him. It's because he's in tune with himself. And so it's like when Nate mentions, like, we got to do the best we can do. I always put myself down and say, well, no, I'm still not doing the best I can, right? So I have this part of me that's like, I'm always doubting myself, and I do look at the doom and gloom of the world, because you have to face it head on. You do. But then there's this other side of me that's like, we can inspire, we can empower the world. So if you notice, I'm utilizing both here, right? Both of these to create a balance. I'm facing the shadows of the world, and I'm also bringing with me the light. And I think it's important that we don't dwell too much in either one, where, yeah, we are like this new age, all about light, ignore the dark, or oh, we're all about doom and gloom, right? And so it's the same thing when it comes to firearms. Someone could be really passionate about firearms, and that's all they think about. They're like, in order to get rid of the state, we have to charge up there with firearms, and take them out, and blood is the only answer. And it's like, well, here's us over here. It's like, well, morality is important. And, what about if that is going to cause more of a problem? And the abolitionists, a lot of them were pacifists, and they were promoting civil disobedience, saying that actually that's more effective than using even self-defense, right? So all that comes from looking at these nuances, these polarities that we find in nature, and then being able to navigate it and creating, I would say, your own little paradise. Catherine, you mentioned a really good point, but independent media can do a lot of this change already, and they haven't. I just want to mention that you mentioned some really good points. Like, you've been doing this for decades, and you're not wrong to feel what you're feeling. I've been noticing the same thing since I've been researching when I was 13, is that there's this constant, let's say, capitalism or consumerism culture in independent media of like, buy my merch, buy these supplements, let's report the latest news, and self-help, yeah, and buy my courses, but they're not actually creating change, and it's the same thing like I talk about in the Cult World documentary. I have a whole thing about consumerism and self-help. So the best thing we can do is demonstrate those new models, which I feel like are not even being demonstrated by the independent media. Like, that's why I love this community so much. Like, I'm trying to tell you guys like so much how I love this community. This is what independent media needs. So even if we bring this message to the people who are already so-called awake, they need this moral education. Like, I talked to Jerry, and she said that, Will, your presentation at the People's Reset, not a lot of people were familiar with natural law morality. And I was like, really? Like, I'm surprised. Like, Mark Passio, he gets angry at us. He gets angry at the independent media because he's got the same frustrations. So Catherine, I think actually, we have a lot of internal work to do within our own community, and that's part of the reason why we're not making the progress. But I think it's getting there because we are organizing events like this, and then we're doing real life actions as well. And I don't think they've ever been done before in the past 20, 30 years. I'm criticizing Mike Adams openly. I'm talking to him and I'm like, dude, you just started talking about voluntarism after 20, 30 years of talking about left versus right. Alex Jones, he fell into that game too. But they had Mark Passio on their platform. They said, "Oh, you were highly requested," but they didn't have him on before. It's like it's there. It's very new, actually. So this is just something to. I hope I provide some light. Like Catherine, it is on its way, and I do see it. And yeah, there's always going to be these dark sides. There's always going to be things to work on. I think the best thing you could do is create your own little paradise and maybe some feng shui. It could be all the littlest things that make a bigger difference. But you're always welcome, and I love you all.
I'd love to hear from Douglas. You've been pretty quiet.
Hey, thanks, Chris. I'm getting a kick out of seeing you and Leslie and Derek all bunched up in there. And yeah, I really like everything I'm hearing and everything everybody has to say. And I understand the pain and the suffering. And that's why I do this, because I'm concerned about it. And, myself, I have quite a bit of experience in the research mostly, but I appreciate the activism. But if we arrive at the activism without the solution in our pocket, then we really don't have any power. So we're going to the Merovingian without the why. And so when we talk about principles, we have to get down to that which is most important, which I think we would all agree is truth. But there's a lot of ambiguity with that term. So what is truth? Well, to hear me tell it, if we want truth, we would have to labor for it as hard as we labor for gold. So some of the things that I say or might say can be very hard for people to hear. So I have to be a little bit careful with that, because I want to encourage you and I want to express my gratitude for allowing me to participate in the conference and in past conferences and in the community, because it means a lot to me and I don't want to squander the opportunity. I'm really grateful that you asked for me to speak, because I do have a few things to say. But concerning truth, I think the most important thing about truth is to discern that which is inherent in the natural world versus that which is a mental construct. and to understand that the mental construct is immediately arbitrary and potentially ambiguous, whereas the truth is unwavering. But as I said, so when we, and remember this too, conquering is one thing and holding is another. Those are two different responsibilities. So, so if we went off to some foreign land and conquered some territory, well, the only way we could hold that territory is to basically reside there and adhere to it, and then we have a finite lifetime. And you see, so we have to be very realistic about these very, very mature subjects. And I appreciate all of the because we go insane if we're totally serious all the time. But we really want to recognize where we're operating in the plane of effects, which is in the physical world, versus operating in the plane of causality, which is in the mind. So this is not just a corruption of corporations and government institutions. It's a corruption of basically all institutions, including religion. And, you could call religion a split of the science, because now we have empirical science, and then religion deals with everything unseen, and that's marginalized and stigmatized. So we've taken the whole science and broken it into pieces, and it's all basically arbitrary and ambiguous, and we are at the mercy of the narrative of the authority. So I'm trying not to go too far astray, but we have to embrace truth as that which is most important. And like I say, I think the best way to identify what I'm talking about is to think of it like this. Everything in creation is God's creation. But everything man-made, including the mental constructs, which is the most important thing to be concerned about, is an extension of God's creation. So annuit coeptus, God wills it. If we choose to build a prison here, well, the universe is in favor of that, although we will destroy ourselves in doing so. And if that's what we wish to do, that's what our free will is. And the universe favors that. That's annuit coeptus. So we have to be, and when we're talking about the children, my wife has a wonderful children's book at Give to Nature and Nature Will Give to You.com, I believe. And it's a wonderful book, and it's basically Hermetic principles for, oh, that's wonderful. Thanks, Will. But it's basically Hermetic principles for children, but we have to understand that these things are very mature subjects. And Hermetic principles alone are not the entirety of understanding natural law. In fact, Mark added a lot to the Hermetic principles when he brought the lost principle of care, because that is the generative, that's the big G. That is the feminine creator aspect of the whole universe. And it's within each and every one of us. So when we're creating, we're mimicking the creator. And we're expressing as the creator. And there's so many ways that we can express. So I don't want to marginalize any of it. In fact, that's why I wanted to come on the conference tonight, because, I can poke some fun at some of the, people's starting out work and not getting into the more advanced material, which takes years and decades and time. And, and sometimes I can go crazy thinking that people should be farther along here or there. But in general, you guys really helped me appreciate, and I always have, because I started out with music. Different ways to express. So, you guys brought comedy, you guys brought all different kinds of angles, animation, filmmaking, cinema, presentations, all of which I'm very impressed by. And when you put it all together as a sum total, it's one of the greatest things I've ever witnessed with my own two eyes. And I think the conferences have improved every time, every time we've done another one, whether it's Seed or Funnel. And I'm really happy about that. And that's why I wanted to come in here, because, I wanted to put the emphasis on what you guys were trying to do, and let everybody bring their talents, because you remember this, in the ancient world, the idea of talent was a monetary denomination, if I'm saying that right. The monetary designation was a talent. It was a term for the value. And what everybody's talent was their contribution to the one great work. And that was, depending on how much it contributed to that one great work, was, the denomination of the value, if I'm saying that right. So that's important to understand. And, money is a mental construct. So therefore it limits us, and it is a form of slavery. Ideally, it's a religion, and it's one of the, like I say, I'm trying to be careful, because I know you guys can handle some of the things I'd say, but on the other hand, I want to be concise, and I don't want to go into one of my 8-hour you know what I'm saying. So I want to make it short and sweet, but everybody has brought so much to this event, and I want to put the emphasis on this event. And I just want to encourage everybody to take the responsibility for the truth. Be in a state of growth. And if you need to express emotion, that's fine too, because a lot of people relate to that. They can feel your pain. It's going to compel them to want to do more, but we have to be careful about operating in the plane of effects. We have to understand the plane of causality, because to hear me tell it, the corruption of science is that the psychology should be at the top of the pyramid of the hierarchy of science. But I'm not talking about Jungian and Freudian psychology. That's psychology in its infancy. I'm talking about ancient psychology, which I've only managed to learn through Mark Passio's work. And it involves worldview schism, mental schism, free will, determinism, random components, the triune brain, the left-right hemisphere of the brain, our complex mammalian brain, neocortex is where the growth occurs. That's the gray matter. And all of these things. But ideally, the ancient psychology is the anima and the animus, the masculine and the feminine aspects of the brain, which we can define as the hemispheres of the brain. And that correspondence that Nate teaches in his work, that we've also picked up from Passio, how that corresponds to the planet itself, whether it's north and south or both hemispheres, or east and west. But just try to remember that only the north and the south have the poles. So when we go east to west, west to east, we have nothing to ground ourselves to. So we can easily become disoriented, and that's largely what's happened. But just like I said, identify with the truth as how to discern that what is inherent in the natural world, which Corey talks so much about. When he talks about nature is the answer, that's what's running through my mind. Yes, it's true. And the same thing, only love can conquer war. Yeah, but that's another big 4-letter word that people don't understand. And we all understand agape. Yes, agape is the answer. Expanding awareness, expanding knowledge, expanding consciousness. And then I just had a couple other things that I thought might be good to mention. I really love Will's work on animism, and you guys talk about animism a lot. And I just wanted to point out that I think it's important to identify that with the square with the dot in the center, as Nate was demonstrating, as the gods of the four corner, and the dot in the center, which you can refer to as pure spirit, and that's pure animism. And see, I could say a lot more about that, about making the inanimate animated, which, now with modern technology, I mean, is there anything that's really not possible in the physical world? So we have to be very careful. That's the best way I'm going to say that without scaring the hell out of anybody. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. And I could go on, and I brought a lot more with me, but just kind of got those things off my chest. But I'm really excited about the conference. I really wanted to put the emphasis on how grateful I am for everybody's efforts. I really want everybody that actually presented in the conference to get the glory they deserve. It's a real honor for me to be here, but you people have really worked hard, and I really wanted to make sure that everybody really got to say what they felt was most on their mind. And I hope I've brought some clarity to these very difficult subjects. But the main thing I'm trying to say is we want to take ourselves more seriously. We want to take the truth more seriously, and we don't have to be a hard ass about it. And we're not looking for ways to repel people. And let me say one more thing on leadership. I hear a lot of people talking about leadership. It was a college course I had in school, and it's a long story. I don't want to give you the full anecdote, but it was a really amazing experience for me. And main thing, there's a lot of different forms of leadership, but primarily you want to think of it as one form of leadership is transactional, and that's punishment and reward. And then the other form of leadership is inspirational, and that's leading by example. Obviously, government is punishment and reward. And that's bolstered by traditions like Santa Claus. If you're good, be naughty or nice or whatever. Santa's not going to come down the chimney if you're misbehaving. That's transactional. So we want to lead mostly inspirationally. But there is a point where we don't want to tolerate. And remember this, ignorance is the adversary. So we all want to take responsibility for truth and take it seriously, take pride in our work, and always keep ourselves in a state of growth. And all of our contributions are valuable, even at the most meager level. No one's work has to be in vain if we achieve our goal. If we don't achieve our goal, then it's all an exercise in futility. So let me just leave it at that. Thank you for letting me speak.
Beautiful, Doug. Appreciate that, man. Dropping some jewels and some gems. Duly noted. 100%.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think we're coming up. We got about 15 minutes for the roundtable, and then we'll play Soul's song, and then we'll play Doug's song, and then we'll start wrapping it up because I think we have a 12-hour limit on some of these platforms. So final words, parting conclusions. Take it away. Anybody jump in?
Yeah, you. So parting words, final words for me is I do see potential for change. I don't personally see a whole lot of progress happening the way that a couple of you see it happening, but not as a negative thing, more so as it's not meeting my eyes that way. What I see is more of a divide happening, where how Corey mentioned the grifter side of this world, and the focusing on the entertainment value, merch sales, events that bring in revenue more than bring in strategy for change and whatnot. I see that happening more so than I see actual, let's say, progress towards more freedom. You can say in America, or just in the world, like in the human family. My personal take on it, and I think that's because, and this is my actual parting words, we are still in the presenter space, mastering targeting the root cause, and that doesn't mean from one perspective. Of course, all of our perspectives and our angles matter. I will never talk about food the way Cynthia can talk about food, or nature the way that Corey can talk about nature, etc. And so our angles are going to be different, but like the root causes are universal and are all rooted in from the same kind of spaces. And so I think when we target those, what we inevitably come up with is everything is our fault. And we have to hold up that mirror and see that shadow very clearly and say, okay, without my obedience, without our collective human family obedience, do they really have any power? Just because they wrote a policy down or programmed an automated, computer system to do automatic things from triggers, do they really have power because of that if we take away our collective obedience? And I think the answer is always no, because they can never really separate from nature like they try to do with the paper systems, right? And that's both the authority system with the bureaucracy and the paper that leads to violence, or the monetary systems that use paper as a means of managing the slave class's access to resources, to put it bluntly. So the religion of monetary value, the religion of man's authority, these things are maintained not by enforcement, but by obedience. And if we remove our obedience, then we remove their say so. And we cannot remove our obedience and in the wrong way. Sorry. If you got a couple more hours, I can tell you what that fully means. But we cannot just willy-nilly try and burn down the system, because the hearts and minds have to change, or we'll just replace that system with another one that functionally is exactly the same. But regardless, our obedience is what fuels this thing and maintains this thing. And so we need to focus. We can stand to focus more on that aspect sometimes when we come together as a presenter family.
Let me add something to that, if you don't mind. Just let me say that we're either going to take responsibility for truth, or they're going to arbitrate it for us. Okay? So and ignorance is the adversary. So well said, Soul. Great to meet you and everybody. So
great to meet you, bro.
Toss that in. Yep, go ahead.
Excellent. Thanks, Soul. Thanks, Doug. 100%. Anybody else got some closing statements? Jump on in.
I just feel like that, what Doug was just saying, and it's very much in line with my message. We got to put things into context, and what Soul's saying as well. The situation is dire, and we can't always see the results of our efforts. I get a couple messages here and there, or somebody will say something I said helped or whatever, but that's not what it's about. Sometimes we have to fight a mighty beast that we can't ever really see. Maybe the results of our actions will be in the next 2, 3, 4 generations, and our names might be like pretty well tossed around in the future. They say, the FUNL conference might be something that, years from now, people look back at as helped change the trajectory. You know what I mean? We don't know that yet. And we can't always see, we can't always see things getting better in our lifetime, but we have to fight for something that we can't see. And that's part of the challenge in a materialistic world. Everybody wants results. They want to see how the finances are going to work out before I get involved, type of thing. But this is very principle based, and it makes me think. I've been watching all these Western movies, and you got this usually hero guy who's just someone who's willing to stand on principle, and everybody else is kind of standing around amazed. And this one, hero is always the one that's like, okay, I'm going to deal with this situation right here, right now. And that's kind of like the attitude we got to take. Whatever you can do with what you got right here, right now, or training for what's about to happen as best you can. So just stay alive, folks. Look alive. We got, crazy times. Like I say, it's right around the corner. These Matrix bots are ready to shut us down. So speak out and get your morals and your training in place while you still can.
I love that, Chris. Very well said.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a fact. What we do now will ripple through the generations. The question is, what's the context, what's the condition and the essence of what we're doing now? So regardless, that cause and effect for the future generations from the actions or lack thereof will definitely ripple out. So yeah, well said, man. All right. Anybody else coming up to closing time?
I was just gonna sorry, let me put the volume up. just quickly, again, just always kind of trying to live in alignment with how health and nature work my whole life. And one thing that I just always noticed, I mean, we're supposed to be raised again to our healthy potential when we're young, and the cord is supposed to get cut. And this chronic, dependency and attachment, that the system, keeps, and then after so much time that people get acclimated and it just becomes kind of normal to remain, I just started using this term like forever child, and just, chronically dependent, and people, they've just lost sight of the fact that you're supposed to be raised and the cord is supposed to get cut, and that's it. And I just feel like that's kind of been really lost, the alignment with how nature and health are supposed to work. Thank you.
Well, Kat, that's wonderful. And just like in college, there's only so far they can take us. So we don't want to blame it all on the parents either. They're going to do the best they can with what they got, and they're not going to do worth a shit at all. But either way, once we reach, the physical age of immaturity, it is up to us individually to complete our own journey. And we got to go, even if we got to go to the devil himself to get that knowledge, we should be willing to do so and have the courage to do it. Because, that's why I loved what Chris was talking about, an unseen beast, that we're battling. And it's within us. Ignorance is the adversary. We're dispelling the darkness. We're taking that light into the darkness. But yeah, very well said, Kat. Yeah, because we do have a world of arrested development in adolescence or post-adolescence, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and it is a conditioning, and that's good news because we did this to ourselves. That means we can undo it. So hopefully that's a positive note for everybody.
I just want to firstly say thank you to everyone here and to our audience, and just say that in the theme of ignition and just sort of inspiring others, those that have done the alchemical work on themselves, that inner work to be a spiritual adult, we now have the responsibility to build the communities locally, internationally, online, in person, to be the change, to embody the change that we want to see in the world. Rather than, sort of like, yes, it's very important.
Dog muted you.
Sorry.
That's funny.
It's great to be aware of the darkness, Corey, as you said, but also like the solutions, like keeping both. But we need both, and finding that balance and pushing that forward is important. And I'm really trying to focus a lot on networking, and I think if we all do that, if we all go into the communities that we came from or are interested in, people in the skating community have had incidences with police officers. People in the parkour community have, people in the music community, people in the ET research community are aware of Black projects, from the government. There's just so many opportunities for networking where people, when we talk about natural law, they will understand it. College students, they get it. They're totally disenchanted by the fact that they're paying a bunch of debt just to like have a job they don't care about. So it's like, just there's so many people waiting for this knowledge.
All right. I'll add on to that. Say it's morals and morale. I have that in one of my presentations. Is like, you have this moral part of it, this character development, right? Really just coming to understand the true self, and then that inspirative, bringing that to the world. I call that morale, right? So morals and morale. You could also say it's like civil disobedience and parallel systems, right? And so I think we got to create those places and that presence in ourselves and what we build that will invite people to come to us. Because I kind of have like a symbology for it, like you're opening the door, right? Once the door is open, people start walking in. Or some people say the thing, it's like if you build it, they will come. right? So it's like, I know right now my Bigfoot food forest, it's like private because it's someone's land and all that, but we have all these plans to make it more public. And even despite the fact that it's private, I still have a bunch of people reaching out to me because of all the flyers and all the material and the places I put it very strategically. So I think it is worth, taking that time to find a strategy on how to do it and network with people you totally disagree with. Like, I networked with, state nationals, American Assembly, common law people, which I've known about for many years, and people talk about paperwork methods. And I've networked, like I said, with like people running in politics, and it's like I totally disagree with them, but like they're starting to see a lot of what I'm sharing. Because it's kind of hard to avoid a lot of the things that are happening, right? You totally have to put on those blinders, and people do. But there is that sense that there is something wrong and that there is something that could be done better. And the more you bring it up to their awareness, and the more you're present with that, the more they come to understand it themselves. I want to add as my final note what the One Great Work Network can do. What I believe, I created a small little list. The network itself, whether it's Mark or all of us, and basically Freedom Under Natural Law Conference as well included in that, and any of the projects we build. I think we got to work together to outreach, maybe strategically, to certain influencers. I think we got to fundraise through all the creators and all the events to set up food forest or real projects in select locations, maybe strategic locations, right? I think there should be a newsletter on the One Great Work Network website to keep people coming back and to update them when things are being uploaded. It should also be clear how people get invited onto the One Great Work Network and how everyone is doing the work. How everyone, even people who are not invited onto the network, is still part of the One Great Work. And better, even if there is a community participation method like a forum. This is not hard to do, guys. Like, this wouldn't cost like any money just to set up like a little open forum on the platform, or just an option to basically engage. And this isn't even counting influencer action, like what specific people can do. Like, I believe Mark Pasio, Larkin Rose, they already have quite a number of people. If they wanted to outreach to an individual person, they probably could. So that's just some tips I have for our community. And, it's up to anybody if they want to kind of follow up on that, and we can strategize together.
Fantastic. I love seeing kind of info being exchanged even in the private chat within this, mastermind. That's great. We want to do that. People, link up together, collaborate. That's beautiful. Anybody else have, we just have a couple minutes and then we're going to have to wrap it up here. Anybody?
I was just going to say, yeah, Will, Chris, Leslie, Derek, you guys did a fantastic job. Fantastic, as Will would say. I really appreciate all your work. I really appreciate all the presenters, all your efforts. I really appreciate the comedy from Logan and the animation for the kids. And I'm very inspired overall. I'm really looking forward to going back and going through the presentations a lot slower and taking a lot of notes. And I've really just felt a good warm sense here tonight. And you guys all have big hearts, and I really hope that people continue to really try to get to the root cause of everything. Try harder to really understand the cause of materialism. Materialism is one of the most important topics that not enough people are really talking about, and not really getting to the nitty gritty of it. And I really hope that people, continue to try to understand what that means, because that's why we're in the mess that we're in today. Because we don't understand this, the cause of materialism. We don't understand why people are so materialized and only seeing the physical in nature. And so, I mean, I know most people here are really, seeing it and understanding the spiritual essence. But just really try to get to that root cause, as much as you can. That's my message to everybody. So just keep aiming for that point. Keep aiming for truth, and we are. I really do feel that at least maybe not in the world, we're not really seeing things get better collectively, but I see it getting better here, and that's somewhere. And I really appreciate you guys a lot.
Much love, Nate. And thank you for your incredible presentation. I mean, this is what the Funnel Conference is. It's to showcase you, the presenters and the contributors and the artists make the conference, right? And then, of course, we have fantastic viewership and the engagement in the chat. But this is what it's all about. It's just we're just kind of creating the container, and then it's filled with just artistic wisdom and knowledge. So appreciate everyone in the conference this year that has contributed. Every presentation was phenomenal.
Can I just say something really quick before
Absolutely.
we close out? Also, thank you guys. This was amazing. I was so honored to be a part of it. And I just want to say I do notice change, like the community I'm part of, Collectively Sustainable, that I talked about in my presentation. They had never heard of natural law when I joined that community. I introduced the concept. The founder fell in love with it. Now there's a whole section on our site that's dedicated to natural law. He's like, post more, because it makes sense. If you're talking to a rational person that really, is fed up with the system, it makes sense. So I do think people are gravitating towards this, and I do see change. It's small, and if you look at the rant that I put up on YouTube today, you'll be like, are you sure you see it? Because I was just pissed off that we even have to have a conference to tell people not to be a slave and to be moral. I just got irritated for a minute this morning. I put up a rant, but for the most part, yeah, I do see it. And this is beautiful, and I love you all. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good
Fantastic. Night. Logan, did you want to say something real quick?
Yeah, I'll weigh in. Did you
see that? Did you see that comment?
I did. Yes.
Okay, great. That's awesome.
Yeah, you rock,
Thanks,
Logan.
Gary.
How's it going, man?
Dude,
What's
Logan,
up, brother?
that was pretty darn funny. I'm not gonna lie. I loved your skits.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very happy with how those turned out, and had a lot of fun doing them. And I'm glad I could offer a different energy, to lighten things up. I think that's so important in this sometimes very heavy and sometimes very dark kind of work. So yeah, I appreciate all the great feedback. That's very empowering as well. So yeah, I just wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation for everyone that put this together, everyone that contributed. I mean, this is the 5th one. That's no small feat right there. That takes, that's worth noting. And I assume this isn't the last one, so we'll keep this going. And I am making my vow to present next time in my normal philosophical manner. Maybe I'll do some comedy with it as well. That'd be great. But this is the second funnel that I've chosen to sit out, just kind of trying to rest and recoup. Last year was really difficult for me in a lot of ways. It's we're just human beings, so I needed to take some time, but I feel myself getting back into it anyway. I want to share some words of encouragement to myself as well as to everyone else, just as much that we're just regular people. Most of us, we're not really getting paid for this, let alone full time, and can focus entirely. We have lives to live, we have jobs to work. And so I have so much respect and appreciation for what we're all doing, despite the odds, and how hard it feels some days when you don't want to, but it's the right thing, and you just got to keep pushing. And so this is my call to get myself back in the game. Even though I did contribute this year, even still I feel that little bit of I could have done more, I should have been in there and sharing these ideas, but whatever. There's plenty of time in the future. But anyway, I just want to say that it's easy to kind of lose sight of things and forget, because it's so much. You've got your own life, you're juggling all these things, and then you're doing the great work. You're fighting this war, even though we're not using weapons, we're fighting, the war of ideas. And that is the most important thing. It's fighting the mind control. And so just as a reminder of the things most important, most of which has already been said here, but just to kind of reiterate, I think networking is extremely valuable because it's inspiring, besides just the practical element of sharing abilities and ideas and all of that, but just we're in this together. And that's so important to remember. When you get isolated, you get bogged down. The cells in your body need to act as you're one organism, and that's the way nature operates. We're all about looking at nature and operating that way. So networking, and I agree with a lot of the sentiment I think was shared by one fellow, especially yesterday, that we need to continue to work on the ideas, to refine the rhetoric, to refine the philosophy, and put a finer point on that, because I'm still seeing people that almost have this vendetta against this movement, and then when they go to bash it or speak against it, they're demonstrating that they don't even understand what they're opposing, what we're actually trying to say. They don't understand the philosophy that they're negating or whatever. And sure, that's partly their ignorance, but I think the more that we as the teachers can refine how we're speaking, what to be clear in what we're saying and what we're not saying also, that's extremely important. And to just be really consistent and relentless with that, I think there's a lot more we can do to refine that. It is, as I don't know, it's a weird, as old as this thing is, this idea is as old as time. This sort of new movement that we're a part of is still very new and very nascent. And so I think that can be encouraging to remember that we can improve a lot, and that's actually a good thing, because there's we'll only be more effective as we go, as we just got to keep doing it. So hopefully more people join us, but just as much we can, I think, kind of just be content that we're all here, and as long as we don't quit and we just keep going, that is making a difference. And again, I'm speaking to myself, because I've had a lot of struggles with that, and I hit my limits and I burnt out, and I just had to take a break. But you only fail if you quit, right?
Too much fire, burnout.
Yeah, exactly. So let's all just collaborate and just keep going, keep refining the ideas, sharpening our rhetoric, and being more strategic too. I think we could all definitely lean more into the whole icky marketing. We all have this kind of aversion to money and marketing, but they're just tools, and they're necessary. Especially look at the opposition and look at the billions and trillions of dollars spent on mind control every single day. We've got to even come to anywhere close to that level to have a chance. So anyway, I think that's about everything I wanted to say. But much love and respect to you all, and anyone feel free to reach out to me, and we can collaborate and work together.
Yeah, well said. Appreciate that. That's great. And I'm looking forward to seeing those collaborations. Let's manifest that. And everyone here, thank you so much for your contribution to this conference and the other presenters and artists. We'll go ahead and get it closed out. Chris and Leslie and Derek, you guys can stay. We'll do the conclusion, and appreciate you all. All right, folks, we come into the end. It's going 12 hours and 25 minutes. That's fantastic. Not sure if that's a funnel record. Last funnel we went pretty long, but that's usually around the cap that we have. And yeah, so Chris, do you have any closing statements real quick before we end this bad boy?
Just feeling very thankful.
Okay. Oh, you're muted.
I think that was Nate who was saying how, like, even if you can't see the change in the world, you can see it here. And so, I love that, because you got to put yourself in the place of being what you want to be, right? We want freedom, and that's what we're doing. We're creating a little microcosm of freedom speakers and people working in that direction. And so we get to feel it a bit, however small it is, I'll take it. And hopefully it shines out like a beacon, like Derek was saying, and then someone else can light another beacon. So thanks, guys, for your help. I really appreciate it. And Will, you carried a lot of load this year. I really appreciate that too. Thanks so much.
Yeah, like a total champ.
I like testing my limits, right? That's the process. So might as well engineer a 2-day conference and create a presentation in those same 2 days and do it live. Like, all right, yeah, we'll set the bar. I'm not scared to fail. But yeah, no, I appreciate all your guys' efforts. This is definitely a team, collaboratory, group dynamic, and we all kind of pull our weight, and this is what it's about, So, and look at this. Like Doug was talking about, right? The square, the 4 elements, bam. And then we got our manifestation, our form, the funnel conference, Funnel 5. Derek, Leslie?
Sure, real quick. Sorry, Leslie. I just had to say that, I was so disappointed. Some of the parting words, I was hoping that Logan would be talking in a voice of Christopher Walken, possibly, but no. He killed it. That it was such a wonderful cherry on top, and then some. How you sprinkled in and worked his magic in with your magic. Will, Logan, you guys are a great team together, and what you guys have been doing and letting your friendship become so fruitful, and with the collaborations and everything. And there's a good amount of common themes that were treaded on. Yeah, of course, the Athenor, getting things really cooking in the alchemical kitchen, with the fire. And Will, your presentation was great. I loved how you're going over the whole elements, individually and stuff, yet they're, obviously they correspond with so much between themselves and with human consciousness and all those things. Like, we always got to take it back to the causal factors of what's going on, the root causes of what's going on within ourselves. Health has been brought up a lot. How we feeding our body and how we're sourcing our food, right? Cynthia brought up some great points on that, as well as, Cat Waters. And the whole lineup was fantastic. So I just deeply grateful for being with you guys and listening to everyone, and just being able to look at everyone's comments a little bit behind the scenes a little bit more, and it's great.
Awesome,
Good
brother. Yeah, right on, man. Appreciate you. Leslie, did you want to say something before we close it out?
Well, I'm a little on overload, so I'm short on words. This has been, a really great experience. And I think there's a lot to process from it. I've appreciated seeing the themes really resonate with each other. Like each presentation had supported the others, and that's like one of my favorite things about the conference is when that happens, and to feel the sense of connection with people around, the passion around these principles, and just having a good heart and a care for life. So I want to say thank you to all the people who participated in the chat and who just watched, whether we knew you were there or not. Like, continue to listen to these presentations, take your time with it, let us know who you are. So thanks everybody. And I enjoy working with you guys. It's fun. It makes this feel like, it's a really easy thing, not really, it's work, but it's like, it all just flows real well together. We're a good team. So I appreciate that.
Fantastic. And I want to tell all the viewers, appreciate your time and your attention over this weekend. Please go to Freedom Under Natural Law. You can get to all the presenters, to their personal links. Go support their work. Check out their work as well. And we also have the official Telegram chat so you can stay in touch. Keep updated for the next funnel conferences. All the individual presentations will be uploaded within just a couple days. And of course, the full whole day experience will be up there, right? Those are the stones, the stone circle, and then the content is the fire. It's this bonfire for you to take over time, process, integrate that, and then ignite in your own right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Freedom Under Natural Law Conference number 5, Ignite Hearts and Minds. We'll let Diesel Automatic with the funnel theme song take us out. Appreciate you all.
If you are intelligent, then you know that freedom is inherent, cause it's evident. It doesn't come from government, it don't come from the president, it comes from the creator of all universal elements. Some people say it's God-given, others say it's heaven sent. No matter what you call it, natural law sets the precedent. Subjective morality's a fallacy. There's laws that we cannot see, like gravity, that people accept happily, but tragically they believe that freedom has to be granted to them magically by royalty or majesty. It's sad to see people willingly give up their liberty, cause they don't really see the enemy that's on a killing spree. The state, it hates sovereign individuals, cause those who follow natural law and abide by all its principles are mentally invincible, immune to the brainwash. We liberate ourselves and then help others break the chains off. We ain't soft, we go hard, like when the thunder hits. Guns and clips ready in self-defense from the government and the elitists running it. Blast them all, claim our freedom standing under it. Natural law, the elitists running it. Blast them all, claim our freedom standing under it. Natural law, freedom under natural law for us all. Yeah, freedom under natural law for us all. Yeah, freedom under natural law for us all. What? For us all. What? Freedom for us all. What?